Right before the onset of the new year, the world learned of the loss and the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg at the age of 87. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a proud Jew. A matter of fact, she had a beautiful gold mezuzah on the door of her chamber. And she once said to a group of girls from Shulamit school in Brooklyn, an Orthodox school that came to visit her, she said, the reason I put the mezuzah on my door is because around Christmas time, all the doors around here have wreaths on it. And this is my way of saying, this is my space, and please don't put a wreath on my door. A matter of fact, in her chamber, there were 3 words on the 3 walls of her door. And they said, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdov. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. Furthermore, just last year when she opened up the session of the Supreme Court, she wore her famous collar, lace collar, and it had an inscription on the lace collar with the word Tzedek, justice. Furthermore, there is a Supreme Court rule that if Yom Kippur occurs on a Monday of the first Monday of the month of the opening of the court, they do not hold any sessions. And this, she said, was thankfully she had Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer to support her, and as 2 Jews we were able to get this rule passed. A child of immigrants from Odessa, she was the 8th Jewish Supreme Court Justice to be nominated to the highest court of our country, and also the first woman Jewish Supreme Court Justice. And it's ironic that she passed away as we began the day of judgment, Yom Hadin, the day that God himself stands in judgment of all of mankind. And indeed, the Talmud tells us something fascinating. The Talmud says, Kol dayan shedan din emet lamito, any judge that renders a true judgment, nasa shutaf la kadosh baruch hu b'maseh bereshis, becomes a partner with God in the creation of the world. In effect, what the rabbis are saying is that God created the world on Rosh Hashanah. But who maintains the world that God created? It's the justice in the world that maintains the law and order in society, that it allows the world to continue to function. And therefore God says that any judge that judges properly becomes a partner with me in the creation of the world. And from here we see that the highest, most noblest profession is to be a judge, because God says, I am the judge of the world. And therefore you are my judges on earth who partner with me in the running of the universe. But let us think, lest we think that it is only judges that can be partners with God in creation. The High Holiday Liturgy reminds us that every one of us is a judge. That's right. In the holiest prayer of the high holidays that we read on Rosh Hashanah and we'll read again on Yom Kippur, the Nesana Tokef, it says God sits in judgment on this day and inscribes who will live and who will not, how many will be born, how many will be passed, and all the different variations of events that is determined on Rosh Hashanah. But the conclusion of that prayer is Uteshuva, however, repentance, utefila, and prayer, utsedaka, which is commonly translated as charity, annul all evil decrees. That every one of us, by increasing in these 3 areas of repentance, prayer, and charity, we can nullify all evil decrees. But the truth is that the word tzedakah is from the root word tzedek, like tzedek, tzedek, tirdov, justice, justice, you shall pursue. And therefore the true definition of the word tzedakah is not charity, but justice. And what the Torah is teaching us, and the High Holiday Liturgy is teaching us, is that when we show acts of kindness and compassion and generosity towards those that are less fortunate, we are actually performing not an act of charity. We're not going above and beyond the call of duty. We are actually fighting for justice. Because justice demands that we share our blessings with those less fortunate. Justice demands that if we were given resources and abilities and talents and other blessings, and there are those that have less, when we share it with others, when we care about one another, when we give to each other, when we support each other, when we help one another, we are actually performing an act of justice. And therefore, what the High Holiday Liturgy is telling us is that it's not just God who is a judge, and it's not just Supreme Court justices like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May her memory rest in peace and be a blessing. But every one of us is called upon to be a judge, which means to perform acts of justice in this world. And just like we call upon God to perform justice with us and with mankind in the world, we must do the same with our fellow man. And when we do that, God will reciprocate with us. I'll never forget the story when I was once praying at the Western Wall. And I came to pray with my talit and tefillin during the week. And a man came over to me. And he said, "Can I speak to you?" And I said, "Sure." And he pulled out a bunch of papers, bills that he had, for hundreds and hundreds of shekels, electric bills, telephone bills, food bills. And he said, "I really need help. Can you please help me out?" And I said, "Of course." And I took out a large bill, not just $1 or $5, and I gave him a substantial amount of money, and he said, "God bless you, everything should work out for you." The next day I come back to pray at the Western Wall, and the same man approaches me, and he says, "Can I speak to you for a moment?" And I looked at him, I said, "Don't you remember? I spoke to you yesterday, and I already helped you yesterday." And the man said something to me that I've carried with me till this very day. He said, "Sir, if you don't want to give me more money, that's fine. No problem, that's your choice. But don't ever say, 'I gave you yesterday.'" And I said, "Why not? Sounded fair to me. I just gave you yesterday. Ask someone else today." I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because yesterday you came here to the Western Wall to pray, and you asked God for many different things for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, for the world. But yet you came back today to ask again. If you don't want God to say to you, 'I gave you yesterday,' then don't say to me, 'I gave you yesterday.'" I immediately took my hand, put it in the pocket, and gave him another generous contribution. And it was at that moment that I realized that when we help others, we're not being generous. We're not just giving charity. We're not just giving something we're not obligated to do. We're doing our duty and our obligation. Just like Abraham turned to God and said, "Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat," when he prayed for Sodom and Gomorrah, he said, "Will the judge of the whole world not perform justice?" Just like when we cry out to God and say, "God, bring healing, bring blessing to the world, bring an end to this pandemic. We've suffered enough. In the name of justice, perform acts of righteousness on behalf of mankind." If we demand that from God, shouldn't we demand that from ourselves? May the memory of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her proud Jewish heritage that she carried as a badge of honor, a life devoted to fighting for justice, inspire us to look into the High Holiday Liturgy and perform acts of tzedakah, perform acts of righteousness each and every day. And in the merit of that, God will perform justice with us and with mankind and bless us all with a happy, healthy, and sweet new year.